Mark Batterson says, sinking is better than sitting. And I love that phrase. It's so true. He was talking specifically about the disciple named Peter. And I've always taught that Peter was the disciple with the foot-shaped mouth. He always got ahead of himself. But he got a really bad rap in so many different ways. When you think about Peter and all the different things that he had done, Peter was the disciple who denied Christ 3 times. He was the disciple who impulsively cut off the ear of the guard that came to arrest Jesus. Peter was also the disciple who sank in the Sea of Galilee. But on the flip side of it all, yes, he denied Christ 3 times, but he was the only one who got close enough to Jesus to get caught. Peter was the one that impulsively cut off the ear of that guard, but he was the only one to really speak up and to take action and to try to defend Jesus, which he thought he needed to do. Peter may have sunk, didn't have enough faith as he was walking towards Jesus, but he was the only disciple, not just that, the only person that has ever walked on water. And so there's great blessing that we miss out on because we think so negatively. We all have regrets, and I guarantee you that Peter regretted some of those things, but at the same time, those are some of the things that actually taught him and grew him into the person that God wanted to use. And there are 2 kinds of regret, though. There are things that you have done. You regret that you did this or you did that. And there are things that you didn't do. And the reality is we regret more the things that we didn't do in life than the things that we have done. There are some things that you may regret in life, but in the end, God has a way of actually shaping you into the person that he wants you to be and helping you not just to be shaped, but to shape others. And so we talked about this last night. Staying close to God. What can I do? What do I personally need to do to stay on track? And there are 2 areas that every single one of us need, unquestionably. The first one is prayer, and the second one is community. The greatest restraint to sin is a fixed community. We need to have other people around us. There's a story about a Scottish shepherd who was absent from church for 3 weeks. And after the 3rd Sunday, the pastor made a point to go communicate and talk to this shepherd. So he found himself in his little shack on the side of the road. And he knocks on the door, and the shepherd kind of waves him in. There's not much dialogue. In fact, there's no dialogue for the entire visit. The pastor walks in, and they sit around the fire that is inside this little hut. And they look at each other, and then they stare at the fire, as we often do when we're around a fire pit. And there's no discussion. The pastor finally takes a tongs, and he grabs a coal out of the fire, and he places it on the mantle away from the flame. And as you can imagine, the coal gets cold and starts to smoke, and it goes out. And the shepherd is sitting there watching, and he grabs the tongs again, the pastor does, and he takes it and puts it back into the fire, and it burns red hot once again. And the pastor, at that point, without saying a word, he dismisses himself. And the following Sunday, the shepherd was back, and the coming weeks to follow, he was back every single week because he caught the message that alone we perish. We have to have that community, not just with each other, but first of all in prayer with God. Secondly, we need that community with other people. Otherwise, we're going to be a red-hot coal that is on fire for God, but we separate ourselves from prayer, from the presence of God, and in the presence of other believers, and it takes us a different direction. Take time to pray. Because as I am faithful in prayer, God will be able to do his redemptive work. When I just seek after him through prayer and through fellowship with other believers, going to church, going to Bible studies, being a part of everything the church has to offer, plugging myself in, it's going to change me. Take the time to pray. Don't be afraid to do that.